Welcome to my humble little office. My name is R. Keith Andrews. I'm a spiritual guide and paranormal adept. The journey continues today on February 2nd, 2025 at approximately 9 p.m. PST. Now, I've made it my life's journey to remind people. I've made it my life's journey to remind people that working together, we can make this a better world for virtually everybody. Now, I bill myself as a spiritual guide because the tools I offer are the exact same tools I personally use in my day-to-day life. And the philosophies of life I talk about are the exact same philosophies that guide virtually every decision I make. With this in mind, I know these tools will work for you because they continue to work for me and have literally worked for thousands of other people with varying degrees of success depending on their own personal efforts. Now, before we get into it, and today's topic, by the way, is paranormal for beginners. But before we get started on that, hats off to Storm. He has managed to keep the technology in this system running, as well as keep the problem children out of the room. Now, problem children are real simple. Storm finds them, pops them outside so they can't interact in the room, keeping this place safe for virtually everybody. Except, of course, for the people that are trying to cause a problem. Okay. LA Moon is in the room to help keep the conversation going, as well as keep an eye on what's going on, not the least of which is my own health. So yes, rest assured, I have managed to have dinner tonight. Okay, now, sure, take my glasses off, can't see a thing, that's always useful. Now, we have to start with Renee Andrews. You are in with the gold today. How you doing? Hopefully things are going well for you. And Operation Shutdown, you've got the silver. And yes, the journey does continue today. And fortunately, there's all kinds of things coming up, but we're going to focus on the paranormal today and what it really is. Okay. Now, with that in mind, paranormal for beginners, somebody, and I would give credit if I knew it was, somebody suggested we go back to this topic. Okay. Now, one thing I will warn you, when things around you happen often enough, when the paranormal happens often enough, i.e., maybe you're having odd events all the time. Okay. Perhaps you're having feelings that you just can't quite piece together on a regular basis. Now, when that kind of oddity, that kind of outside of the normal, or the kind of normal, happens, the paranormal becomes the normal. Now, I actually, in one of the former editions, do not ask me which one because I really don't know. In one of the former editions of Positive Perspectives, I wrote an article on the paranormal equals normal. Okay, now, what we're looking at, there are some real basic rules. Every single individual on the planet and I'm referring to humans primarily, but we can settle for everybody else as well. But everyone is born psychic. Now, I will tell you, there's all kinds of things that people say, no, that's not true. Okay, I'm not a researcher. I've lived a long time. If I just count this lifetime, 61 years. But there are some things to keep an eye out for. Now, everything you cannot explain is not necessarily paranormal. Okay, the fact that you cannot explain gravity does not make gravity a paranormal occurrence. Okay, but we'll start off on the really weird thing. UFOs. Okay, UFOs gets lumped into the paranormal because it is not quite normal. Actually, in all fairness, it really is. But the majority of people still put it out in the outfield. So you're looking at UFOs, cryptids, the paranormal tools, things like tarot, astrology, clairvoyance, a whole pile of others. Okay, but oh, and here we have Ferret. You are in with the bronze. How you doing? Now, I will tell you right off the bat, one of the biggest things we have to deal with. Well, I guess this isn't really big. Blue Cruz, you have honorable mention. How you doing? The reality is, just because you don't understand it does not necessarily make it paranormal. Okay, but I will tell you, there's a lot of things that don't add up, at least from my experience. Now, let's start with the UFO issue. Literally meaning it is an unidentified flying object. Okay, now the new catchphrase, apparently, they've changed it to say it's no longer a UFO. Okay, unidentified flying object. They now call it an unidentified aerial phenomenon. Now, I got news for you. Okay, unidentified is the key factor here. But let me ask you, if you look up in the sky and you see this little dot, okay, and you don't know what it is that unidentified? Okay, you see a little black dot and it's flying around like this, no lights. You're just seeing the form flying around in the atmosphere. Okay, you don't know what it is. This, by definition, makes it unidentified. Okay, now get a telephoto lens. Get a telescope to take a closer look. Turns out that unidentified flying object was a seagull. Okay, now that's number one issue. It was unidentified, doesn't mean it's necessarily from off world. Okay, now the second thing, people say, well, how can you spot them? Sometimes you can't see them, but at night, if you're watching the stars, now if it's a satellite, and I might be off on part of the trajectory, but my understanding of satellites is they travel at a steady pace, either north to south or east to west. Now, do not try and figure out if I'm pointing north to south. I don't know. Okay, the point being, they travel in a steady path across the horizon. Okay, or across the sky. In one direction or the other, it'll go in a straight line, same pace all the time. Now, if you watch a light doing this and goes across and starts across the sky, stops, and comes back, and then goes forward again, this is not a satellite. Okay, satellites don't do that. They also don't travel partway across the sky and all of a sudden shoot 90 degrees to the other direction in a east-west direction. This is not a satellite. But the fact you cannot tell what it is says it's unidentified. Okay, it's that simple from that standpoint. Okay, but when somebody, especially, and this is literally to those of you that are claiming to work in this field, I ask you very politely, when somebody approaches you and says, I saw a UFO, do not cover your mouth and laugh at them. It is hard enough for witnesses to step forward in the first place. And if you're claiming to work in the UFO field, then treating it like it's a joke is way offline in my eyes. Okay, it's way out of line. These people that are trying to report things, they don't know what they're looking for. They don't know what they're looking at. Now, another thing, if you're looking at the stars, and let's say, you can see the stars fine, and you can't see what's going on, but you can't see a ship, but you watch the stars wink out one after the other at a steady pace in sequence. what you've got is you've got now. Okay, look at well, we'll just hold the pen upright. Okay, now there's the light that you're seeing to start with, but now you can't see my hand. But if my hand travels across and blocks that view, and then it comes back into view, you've got an unidentified flying object in the sky. Okay, now understand, you may be seeing a bat flying across in front of you, far enough away that you can't hear it, but close enough, as in between you and the stars. This is, again, an unidentified flying object. Therefore, when we take a look at it, all UFOs, all unidentified flying objects, are unidentified flying objects. But not all unidentified flying objects are from off-world. And this is what we have to realize. Okay, so when you're out there looking, and again, take a look at the photograph you've taken. Take a look for distortions. Rachel, how you doing? Glad you can make it. I do trust things are going well on your end. Now, point blank, you sent me something on Facebook, but the link wouldn't show anything by the time I got to it. But I did try and look at it. Now, when you're observing something that it doesn't make sense, okay, that you don't recognize entirely, make as many accurate notes as you can make. What you were feeling, the time of day, what the weather condition was like, that you could observe. Okay, this is just simply a way, in all fairness, for you to quantify what you're looking at. That's all it's for. Okay, now I will tell you, in all fairness, if somebody sends me a picture, I cannot tell you if a video is real. Now, I know Nathan is able to tell, and there's a lot of people out there that have computer tech that can tell if a video has been modified. I am not one of those people. Oh, that's got to be exciting there, Rachel. You know, for those of you that are witnessing things, absolutely, if you drop me a line, I will do my best to tell you what that video represents. I can't tell you if it's an actual real picture, but I can tell you if I've seen something like it before. I'm certainly not going to tell you it did not happen, okay, or you're making it up. Now, with that in mind, I do encourage you to document it and find somebody to report it to. Okay. Now, we can safely say that there are a staggering number of people that claim to believe in the UFO phenomenon and flat out will tell you you're making it up to get attention. This is a lousy way of doing things. Okay. Now, that's only, and again, guys, if you have a topic that comes up that you would like to talk about, absolutely let me know. Okay, before I go any further here, tomorrow's stream will not happen because my fiance shows up tomorrow night. So, sorry guys, I'm calling the day off on that one. And of course, Valentine's Day, we won't have one either. You get to figure out why, other than the fact she's still in town. Now, I could go into a lot more detail on many of the things I've seen. Okay. Not the least of which, and yes, I'm going to tell you a word here that you're going to look at going, what the heck was that? Okay. But when I got looking at something at a picture at one point, okay, I heard a question wanting to know why the major motherships are never seen. Well, it's because of one little detail, okay, and that is the OTE drive, the oscillator densification and tri-transempation equilarity. I know that sounds like Swahili. It's not, but it did take me 2 hours to explain it to somebody with a master's in both rocketry and astrophysics. I don't have an education past baseline college. Now, UFOs are just one of the things. Understand there are literally hundreds of different style ships. I've identified a few of them. Okay. And yes, I am pushing to get things out of the way at this point. But let's face it, 2 years in depression causes a problem. Now, that's only one of the aspects of paranormal. Then we have this neat little thing called orbs. Okay, now just so I get the names right, couple of things you gotta realize. From what I understand, the massive majority of what are identified as orbs in photographs are quite seriously dust particles suspended in the air reflecting light. Now, do not get me wrong, orbs are real. Okay, you've got, okay, when you get the bigger orbs, the little wee ones are quite often, way more often than not, they happen to be dust particles. This does not mean orbs do not exist, but you take a ball that's about the size of anywhere from a 5-pin bowling ball up to a bowling ball, you may well be looking at a Vorosic. Now, this is an energy being, okay, but you have Vorosic. Now, this is what I wanted to look for. If I take a look at this now, where is it? There we are. The Vorosic they are an energy being, which will encompass about the size of about 4 inches of diameter, okay, which is about the size of a 5-pin bowling ball, okay, that's right, a 5-pin, okay, they grow from one size to the other. Then you got the Zotar. Now, the Zotar will usually be seen outside. Rosa can come and go through the atmosphere. They don't travel through solid objects. Okay, but if your window's open, they'll go through it without a problem. They can't even travel through a screen. Okay, you watch an orb come through a screen. Odds are what you're witnessing is an airborne dust particle. Now, the Vorosic have to go through an opening. Okay. My apologies. The Vorosic, their energy, which means they can go through a screen door. The Zotar have somebody else build their ships. They are not that technologically advanced, but they get the ships built. Their ships are no bigger than a softball, ever. Okay, now they are one of these weird races that has a really neat idea. If you are taller than 3 inches, you're not becoming a pilot, period, because you're not small enough. Okay, on Earth, there are many amusement parks where they say if you're not at least 4 feet tall, you're not getting on that ride. And the reason for that is because it's not safe. Okay, a child, like even a teenager, quite often will not. The short answer there, Operation goes, Keith, have your visit encounters with orbs been indoors or outdoors? And yeah, the answer is both. Okay, I've also run into orbs off planet, which technically qualifies as outdoors. But the Zotar, they operate actual physical ships that are literally the size of a softball. Okay, and the reason for that is they're just little guys. You know, if you've ever seen the commercial for, and it was put on by TELUS, okay, which is a phone company, they've got this neat little picture of a tiny little gecko, okay, as their spokesperson. Well, if you look at that gecko and you look at the Zotar, you will see very similar configuration. Okay, now this all falls under the paranormal. And of course, people are going to go, well, how can you know all of these different names? Well, because I deal with them. Okay. As a matter of fact, what was it now? I have to go back and look unless I've got it open. Where are we? Yeah. There we are. On January 28th. So we're looking at 5 days ago. 6 days ago. 5? I don't know. On January 28th, I woke up with my right knee very, severely dislocated and a gash that ran all the way from my left temple to about the center of my forehead. Okay, yes, I do know what happened. I know who is involved. Who is involved was the Talon. We've never gotten along, and it's not showing any signs of getting any better. Now, some of the other tools that we work with. Okay. Where is it? Right here. Now, there are a lot of good books, okay, that tell you how this works. Matter of fact, I should have kept that one out. Not going very far, guys. This here is literally the deck of cards that my parents got me on my 16th Christmas. Okay. This is literally the first deck. Now, you can't tell really by looking at it, but as you can see, they're a little on the old side, which is understandable. I was given these on the Christmas of 1979. Okay, I still can use them, but they've lost a lot of their wax. Can't imagine why. These handled over 100,000 clients. Okay, I still read them, but I did end up getting gifted with another deck. By the way, this is the Rider-Waite deck. Okay, now I got gifted with another deck, which is also the Rider-Waite. As you can see, the pattern is still the same. Now, here's the neat little kicker to it. Take a wild stab in the dark. If I show you, and I'm not going to give you a pop quiz, but one card, okay? Now, let me ask you this, and it's a key factor to really pay attention to. How many definitions for this one card are there out there? Okay, now I'll let you think about that, and while I'm doing that, understand something. There's a lot of really good books out there that explain tarot. Where are we here? Lunar, how you doing? Glad you could join us. You take a look at that. How many definitions are there out there? Okay. Now let me put it this way. Okay. The good books will give you 15 to 20 definitions. Now here's the neat part. Most people, there's a lot of readers I talk to that only read right side up. That's all they read. Okay. And here's the kicker to it. Okay, they don't read it upside down. Now, here's the kicker. Okay, if you read only right side up, you're missing half. Hey, what is this? I don't mind if it's slowed by that. So we'll just close that. Okay, if you're looking at it and you're only reading right side up, and I know there's a lot of flack about this one. Okay, let me ask you this. You've got a book, okay, and we take a neat little book. Okay, are you going to read only the even color, the even numbered books or numbered pages? Because here's the kicker. Right there. Now, I asked how many people, how many different definitions there are. I'm not leaving you hang. Okay, the really good books will give you 15 to 20 definitions. But you got to realize the cards tie to the individual. So they are absolutely, they do key off on what's going on. And they tie to the individual reader. So these cards work very much, at least for me, as bookmarks. When somebody reads them, they take a look at it, and that energy is translated so they can understand it. Here's the funny part. Right here in this one direction, just right side up, you have, right side up, you have just over 8 billion definitions. Okay, now, that's only right side up. But we also have upside down. Now, when you turn the card upside down, you now have another 8 billion definitions. Well, 8 billion times 8 billion, back to basic math, you're now in just these two, okay, just those two, 64 billion definitions. Now, if we do that, I've got to do it this way because, well, frankly, 8 times 8 times 8 times 8. Okay, now, get this. 8 billion, 8 billion, 8 billion, 8 billion. Okay, that makes for a total of 4 trillion 96 billion definitions. Okay, well, now that's one card. Okay, and of course, there's different ways of laying it out. But now we take a second card. Right here, you've got 8 billion. Okay, just on its own. Now we put a second card with it. We are now at 64 billion combinations. Okay, yes, the numbers are incredible. Okay, and yes, I have actually laid out a course. I'm redocumenting it so I can start teaching. I will be doing a course online to teach people how to read tarot. Not what each definition means, but how you yourself can learn. Okay, because I will tell you, I still work with them all the time. I've got a number of different tools I work with. This is only one of them. Now, I will tell you this. People that tell you they only read right side up, that's not a problem. Okay, that does not mean they cannot read. I read all directions. I'm a little different. Okay, but you take somebody that knows how to do something. If you're looking for guidance, turn to somebody you trust. If your reader says they only read right side up, this is not a flaw. They figured out how to work with just the one set, and that works out well. Okay, Lunar goes, I have several decks also. I used to have literally a dozen decks. I've always come back to the Rider-Waite. Okay, I've given most of my decks away. But here's one other little bonus for you, Lunar. Okay, and you're gonna love this one. Okay, a couple of things for you. Let's say, and I'm just gonna hold the two decks, just the two cards. Let's say you've got a Rider-Waite deck, and oh my gosh, you happen to also have a Dragon deck. If you mix them, you won't destroy your ability to read, but you will enhance the number of options. Okay, there is nothing wrong with missing tools. Something most of you probably don't realize. I dropped a card. Well, that you probably realized. Okay, you'll notice a couple of things about the tarot cards. The tarot cards, my understanding is they were originally created. Okay, now understand, I'm about to say something that's going to set somebody off. And I cannot tell you the entire breakdown of it. Okay, but my understanding is that tarot was originally designed as a way to spread the word of Christianity. Okay, then the gypsies got a hold of it and figured out how to make more money. Okay, now here's a neat little kicker to it. When we take a look at the tarot decks, okay, a tarot deck has literally 78 cards. When you knock out the pages and the major arcana, you now have 52, also known as a deck of playing cards. So, if you yourself read tarot, you can also read cartomancy, okay, as in regular playing cards. Okay, now, I'm telling you wholeheartedly, anybody that can think can read tarot. Okay, you don't have to have the books. Okay, I've still got the original books that I was given. But tarot is only one of the tools. Okay, and if you're looking for a tarot reading, yes, I still read tarot. But something you got to realize: every reader, every card reader, every rune reader, every psychometrist, we all work the same way. The ability comes from in here. These are simply a focus. Okay. And you would be amazed how many times I've had somebody come to me, ask me a question. I'll give them an answer and they won't like it, so they'll go, well, could you do a reading for me? I'll go, sure, no problem. I'll lay the cards out, do the reading the way I normally do, tell them dang near verbatim what I just told them. And now all of a sudden, because it's coming from a card, it's real. Okay. Now, the reality of it is the people are interpreting what they're seeing. LA, not to pop your bubble, but you really are an extremely rare individual. Okay. You trusted your instincts way before you trusted anything else. Okay. Now, I've got, the reality of it is that anybody can learn to read. Okay. As long as you can think independently, you can learn to read. And yes, I am repenning an actual class to teach people whereby you can start off knowing absolutely nothing about tarot aside from believing it may work. Okay. By the time you've done this course, I've already drawn it out once, now I'm just refining it. By the time you finished it, not only will you understand the basics of cards. Okay, we won't cover all of them because I hate to tell you this. 8 billion definitions. Not going to go through them all. Okay, but by the end of the course, you'll be able to you'll not only understand the tarot, you'll be able to design and train and use your own layout. There are a lot of different layouts. But understand, when you're looking at tarot, it combines with all the other tools at once. Okay? And anybody that tells you, oh, you can't read this, it's too difficult for you, ignore them. Find somebody that will actually teach you, okay, that will answer your questions without shutting you down. Now, there are times somebody will say, look, I'm trying to do this, and your guts are telling you, don't go there, okay? It's not, you're not allowed to. It's just the energy you got set in motion may not be conducive to success at that point. Okay. That would be first and foremost, and that's the tarot itself. Now, I've shown you this before, okay? Now we hear mind over matter, okay? But when we're talking about self-healing, we're talking mind over body. Also now, mind over matter is psychokinesis, movement by the mind. Psychocellular kinesis is the term for self-healing, because what you're literally doing is modifying your own energy flow and your own healing rate. Now, I'm living proof that this works, okay? And I know there's some of you out there that know it works. If you're talking to somebody that tells you they are an energy healer, okay, or a Reiki master, not a problem. If after telling you that, they say they've got to make physical contact, that is not strictly energy work. They are literally using contact, reflexology, well, so much for that word. Acupressure, there we go. Okay, acupressure, reflexology, pranic healing, there's a lot of different terms for it. But here's how energy works. Take your hands, put them palms towards each other, a quarter, maybe a half inch apart. Okay, and concentrate. You'll feel some sort of energy between your hands. Now, you may feel it as a pulse, as a heat wave. Maybe you'll feel a little bit of pressure. Whatever you're feeling, call it what you will. You can call it gooey for all it matters. Okay, some of you remember silly putty. Okay, call it what you will. That is what you use for energy work. Now, understanding the two most common chakras, energy centers that get jammed up in people, or for that matter, in animals and plants, which to me are all people. When you get the most common ones on the human body are the ones centered in the solar plexus and the ones centered at the groin. With that in mind, bearing in, understanding that roughly 75% of querents in these fields are female. If I had to make contact as a male with the solar plexus, as in physically put my hand on it, or on the groin, do you really think I'd get much in the way of energy work done? Okay, and this is just the reality behind it. Okay, this is why I say, if somebody says I'm an energy worker and I've got to make contact, well, the reality is, if they say they have to, do not tell them they can't touch you. If you're not comfortable with being physically touched, absolutely tell them you'll book with somebody else. Okay, do not let them talk you into doing the work, because they're not confident in non-contact healing. Now, people ask me why, do I do distance healing? Technically, the answer is yes. I don't do it much because the chances, the ability to see the change isn't there for you or them. Okay, so when I do travel, or if somebody desires me to travel, I will certainly do healing by proximity. okay, on a face-to-face level. To be clear, if you're talking to somebody, if you're talking to somebody and you're trying to get healing work done, ask them to open your foot chakras. I'm telling you right now, if they tell you, well, the foot chakras are minor, don't say another word. Thank them for their time. And in my opinion, get up and walk away. Find a different healer. And here's why. For that minor chakra, I have pulled people, by opening it up, I have pulled people back out of comas, back out of a wheelchair. Okay. By opening the foot chakras along with a few others. Okay. Now, this does not guarantee I can do it for everybody. Okay. But if they tell you the foot chakras are minor, I'm telling you, here's why I don't go to Reiki masters. Reiki masters, on the whole, deal with 7. Okay. With 7 chakras. The good ones with 9. I deal with 49 major chakras. And they're not all in the human body. Okay. But that's a basic overview of tarot. When I'm talking basic, I'm talking really, really basic. Okay. Understand. What do we get? Oh, I do believe that might be a spelling mistake there, Lunar. Because Lunar's written, also look at your feet during dream state. Helps lucid dreaming. I don't know what that last word is supposed to be. So I'm not even going to try and translate it. Here's the one hiccup with lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming literally boils down to controlling your dreams. Now, dreams are the way for your soul. And yes, that is one of those neat little things. And I do think that we're going to have to get into that. Luna goes, my mother-in-law joined hands on healing group when she had cancer. Oh, okay, training. I appreciate that. Now, here's the thing with lucid dreaming. Dreams are the way your subconscious and, if you will, your higher self reaches forth to let you know what's going on. The moment you start lucid dreaming, in my opinion, you write your subconscious's ability off with its ability to tell you what's going on, because now you're controlling what comes in. This is why I personally do not practice it, do not train it, and certainly do not endorse it. But if it's working for you, I am not the only person out there. I'm not the be-all and end-all. Matter of fact, I may be a bit of a lunatic on occasion, but that's my opinion. Now, but yes, we are going to have to take a look at that. And of course, that's going to annoy some people. Where are we? I just need a hard surface here. What I'm writing down is another topic for down the road here on energy healing modalities. So we will cover that down the road. Okay. I'm not about to come in here and start telling you how the medical profession does what they do. I've never been trained in medical. Okay. Closest I got was a whole lot of training in stretching when I tore my leg apart. That was the closest I ever came to it. Now, we will, because healing itself is an extremely complicated topic. But I do have it marked down to put it down the road. If you've got a topic you really would like to deal with, absolutely let me know. Okay, I'm right now booking down the road. We've got, where are we here? what are we? Today is the 2nd. We're not going to be there for tomorrow. So we've had to make some. This is my calendar for gauging things. I won't be doing a stream tomorrow. So we're bouncing the Akashic Records to Tuesday. Yeah, we're bouncing them to Tuesday. And of course, I don't have it written down here, which is bad. Okay. I will end up announcing that. The other ones, because I had other ones listed here. Wonder. There it is. Matter of fact, I should have it right here. What I'm doing is looking up what I wrote in before. Nope. I did not on that. Anyway, so I'll have to get back to you on that. Tomorrow or on Tuesday, we'll be dealing with accessing Akashic Records. Okay, but here's another one of the tools that are massively misunderstood. And yeah, I'm going to get flack for this. Okay, but most of you understand, you take a look at astrology, you read your newspaper for a blurb on it, whatever. Okay, there's an old saying where it comes to astrology. If you don't like what you read on your horoscope, get a different newspaper. Okay, and there's a reason for that, by the way. Now, understand something. With newspaper and magazine astrology, okay, first things first, they have to pick only a couple of items to work with, okay, and they've got to speak in extremely general terms. Now, here's why, okay, and it's also why we have a bit of a hiccup. Scientists call this is an astrological wheel, okay? Scientists call this pseudoscience. But to me, science boils down to this. If using the same tools, somebody can replicate what you've done, this is scientific proof. Now, here's the kicker, okay? When you take a look at it, this wheel, and bear in mind, I drew this out using 4 items. I used a center point, a string, a pencil, and a straight edge to draw this. Not to draw the writing on it, but to break this into literally 12 equal houses. Now, to go and be clear, if you go back 400 years, no, I think closer to 7, there were only 8 houses they worked with. Okay, I work with 12 in what they call an equal house system. But here's the kicker. Okay, when you've got planets, okay, the planets travel counterclockwise around the sun. Okay, now with the equal house system, this means 360 degrees around the circle. You got 30 degrees per sign. Okay, which means while it's going around, it's going to take 30 degrees to go from this sign to move counterclockwise to get into the next one. Now, this is Capricorn. This is Sagittarius. Okay, now that would take you 30 degrees to get through this house. Now, here's where the problem comes in my eyes. The houses go counterclockwise. Okay, the cusp, this line that separates the houses, okay, it turns clockwise at the same pace. Now, with this in mind, yes, it's still going to take 30 degrees to get through that sign, through this sign of Aquarius, for instance. But while it's doing that, the cusp is moving. Okay, so your house stays where it belongs, but the sign will rotate clockwise, meaning you have a scissor effect. Planets going counterclockwise, cusp coming up clockwise, which means it's going to take 30 degrees to get through that house. But your sign is going to change place halfway through it. Okay, which means it's only 15 degrees to get out of the sign. Okay, but still 30 to get out of the house. And I'm telling you, there is some massive difference between, if you look at this, between Aries in the first house and Taurus in the first house. Now, for you, those of you that are astrologers, don't take my word for it. Calculate it out yourself. Now, I love this one. Okay, I got told if I didn't, because I told somebody they wanted me to do an astrological reading for them. So, I told them, let me grab my book. The woman looks at me and goes, if you've got to pull a book out, you're not professional, right? Now, I don't know if you're going to be able to read this, but understanding we have, you've got 12 houses. Okay, and I could pull astrology apart all over the place. Let's settle for 12 houses and their accompanying planets. Okay, in this book. Now, this shows 4 months of those planetary movements. She told me if I didn't know this by heart and didn't have to look in a book, I wasn't professional. Okay, that's the kind of stuff you're looking at. Now, when people talk about progressions, here's the funny part. Now, I'm lazy, I admit it, but I figured out something really intriguing. When you look at this, a natal chart, as it was described to me, tells you what your tool and what your abilities were when you were born. Okay, they are your, if you will, report card from your last life. They're what you're coming in with. What your natal chart tells you is what kind of talents you've got. Now, where are we here? Oh, absolutely, Lunar. The neat part about it is when you start looking at progressions, they've got all these neat little calculations. And when I was learning astrology some 30 years ago now, I asked my mentor, I asked him a question. And he looks at me and he goes, you're asking me about this? I looked at him and I said, you're the one with 30 years experience. He goes, yeah. And you're the one doing 50-year calculations in your head with only 3 months of training. Okay. Progressions are neat. They've got all kinds of calculations. Look them up. I don't know them. I found out something really neat. Let's say you were born in July of 2006. Now, I want to see what's happening down the road. So, I'm going to look for the progression. I'm going to calculate everything out. And I'm going to look here to November of 24. That is done by flipping a page. No mathematical calculation. Okay. And then you compare the locations of the signs. Now, am I working on prices? Yes. Because somebody's going to ask me, do I do natal charts? Okay. Now, I've got to work out the price because we are talking about extremely comprehensive and rather time consuming. Okay. But this basic natal chart, okay, covers all 12 planets. And by the way, they list 9. There's a whole lot of complications there. As a matter of fact, why don't we do that? Grab that, and where'd my book go? We'll get into this one at a later date as well. Sure. Lose my pen. We will cover the astrological discrepancies. I'm absolutely certain of it that some of you will be interested in this. Okay. Yeah, LA goes, a lot of people don't know the nuances of astrology or other tools. Absolutely, they don't. And this is one of those things we really have to, I think, look into. But, so we will deal with that. Okay, now, when I'm looking at a basic chart, I look at 12 different planets, the luminaries, 5 calculated points, and 4 asteroids. Okay, now that's on a basic chart. Okay, well, there is a lot of math involved, but I did find a way to simplify much of it. When I look at where'd it go? When I look at what I call the dynamic chart, okay, and this is the one I'm currently working out for me and a couple of other people. Speaking of which, I got to get them done. I still cover the 12 planets, the 5 calculated spots. No, correction. 12 planets, the luminaries. I cover 7 calculated points and another, what are we, 4, 5, 6, and 9 asteroids, as well as 5 major stars. Okay, now, needless to say, basic, dynamic, much more comprehensive. But I will only work on a few of them at a time. I've got a couple I'm going to be starting on right away here because it's time to bring them online. These are tools that are used. Okay, I'm going to be covering healing down the road. I've already said I'm going to work on the healing modalities for you on a course to teach you how to read, how to design, develop, and test your own tarot cards. Okay, 2 other things that I do want to point out. This neat little item here. Yes, this is a very active, real on the spot, verified crystal ball. Matter of fact, this one's so potent, I jammed an entire airport by forgetting about it and letting it go through their computer. Boy, did that cause havoc. Okay, but some people can read, they can work with these. This is simply a focal point. I will tell you though, taking this crystal outside in broad daylight, okay, was a problem. I ended up burning my hand. Oh, thank you very much there, LA. Lost track of time altogether, I see. So the crystal ball, very few people actually read them very well. For me, the thing goes absolutely black, and then I start seeing things through it. Okay, it is simply another tool. Now, there's a lot more tools out there. Okay, I know there's a lot of people listening in. Well, I don't know if they're listening in here, but I've run into a lot of people outside of my house that I consider tools, but I don't think that's the same thing. Okay, so when we are looking at this, okay, these are just some of the tools. And again, if you've got tools that you would like to look at, I've got a few listed, and my list for what we're going to cover is growing. Okay, most of these I'll be able to teach people how to do. Okay, but understand the tools are amplifiers for what we naturally do. Okay, now with that in mind, I definitely don't want to be running right into midnight or anything. Way too many things on the go. Okay, now I don't know if I'll be on tomorrow morning as far as a day in the office. I won't be on tomorrow night, but on Tuesday we're going to be dealing with accessing your Akashic records. Okay, with that in mind, and of course I won't be where I be on air this Friday, I'll be on Spaced Out Radio. But with all this in mind, I do want to say thank you so very much for sharing your time with us tonight. Really appreciate it. We undoubtedly are going to have to cover some more tools in basic. But if you've got tools in particular, absolutely let me know. Let me know. Okay, really appreciate it. Until we meet again, do take care of yourselves